Hey, welcome to my tech catch-up for Friday the 26th of May 2023. So, lots of news in the world of generative AI this week. Photoshop released a new beta that has a generative AI tool where you can select areas of an image and then enter a text prompt and it'll generate content for that area of the image based on your prompt and give you three versions and you can pick the best one. So you can provide it, a text prompt like, add a bowl of fruit here, or you can even provide nothing, in which case it'll remove the selected object. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Photoshop did already have a content-aware fill tool, which you could use to remove objects, which worked well in some cases, but the generative AI tool is even better. And if you look at some of the examples, you can really see that difference. The generative AI tool is able to, replicate the pattern properly, ensure continuity in the image, and all round deliver a better result. Here's an image of Sydney Harbour, and in the bottom right hand corner, I've created a whole bunch of layers using the new generative AI tool. Here's one example where I removed the ferry, and another version of that. I think this version is a little bit better. The water lines look a lot more continuous. Here I removed the Opera House, and what I find really impressive is look at the wake behind the ferry. That's really smooth, and that's content that was obscured by the sails, so that's been completely generated by the generative AI tool, and I think it's done a pretty good job. I tried to remove the harbour bridge and I got a metropolis in between North Sydney and the bridge. Here I added New York in the background, and another attempt at adding New York in the background, which you can see doesn't quite look so good. So you need to play around with it a little bit. Sometimes you'll need to, try some different prompts or, try some different selections in order to get a good result. Here's another image of the harbour. You'll notice that the Sydney Opera House is missing. It's because I removed it. And there's also a jetty that was in the foreground that I've removed. So that's the original image. And then I also did a version using the content-aware tool. And while it's impressive, you can notice that there's some duplication here where we removed the Opera House. And there's a lot of shadow here where the jetty was removed, which is a lot more continuous, in the generative AI version. Here's the entrance to my co-working space. And as you might imagine, we don't have a chandelier at the front entrance. So that was generated from this original image, simply using the prompt cathedral. I just selected around the roof area, and yeah, that's one of the variations that I got. And I just had some fun here. So, the duck doesn't look completely realistic, but what I find impressive is that the shadows are really good. If you look at the googly eyes over here, you've got those shadows underneath that perfectly match the lighting environment that they're in. The puddle has the reflection of the branding here. So quite some impressive results. And in this version, I removed all of the branding. So you can see there's no branding on the front desk, and I've also removed some branding from this hand sanitizer station here. Now, some interesting things that I discovered while doing this, when I tried to remove the C that used to be here, I initially just drew around the C, but that actually duplicated this little notch here. So I actually had to extend my selection vertically so that it had more area to sample to generate a new background. And here are some more examples where I played around with different images. So in this example, I wanted to remove these two people and generate some pavement, but I got some slightly unexpected results. I got another person, AI generated. So yeah, I think that's funny. And in another example, I got an Apple store, but a slightly different Apple store from what I was imagining. And then I also played around with removing some signage from the McKell building near Central. And also, check this out. So all I did was I selected around the text for the Vietnamese restaurant, and I was wondering whether it was going to completely remove the tree or whether the tree was going to look synthetic that it generated in place. But I think it did a really good job. You can see that it's definitely generated new tree elements here, but they blend in so well, and the texture of the sign is preserved so well. In this example, I removed someone from the seat. And when you play the before and after, you can notice some variation in the image, but if you look at them independently, I mean, that looks perfect to me. And here, I tried to remove some graffiti. And as you can see, there's quite a lot of texture and variation in the concrete behind the graffiti. And in the generative version, it kept a lot of that texture, which I think is pretty amazing there. Here were some other results where I was playing around. As you can see, the buildings are looking a little bit synthetic, and here I was trying to get Godzilla throwing Sydney buses on the road. It captured the vibe, but again, it does look pretty artificial. So there is room for improvement on some of these more advanced cases, but overall, you can do some pretty amazing things with the new generative AI tool. I'm suitably impressed. Another cool generative AI example is this paper that's been circulating on Twitter, where you can actually adjust the tilt and all sorts of attributes of images using this UI. I think that's amazing. Just look at that. Just drag and drop generative AI. So that's a sample of some of the cool stuff that's happening in generative AI at the moment. I also write a newsletter and produce a podcast. You can find them both at steveharrison.dev, and you can read more tech roundups there as well. Thanks for listening.
All right,
and
that's a wrap.
See you next time.
Have a great weekend, and go play with Photoshop Generative AI. See you in the next video.